show to a country like Estonia, which is like a black box. What's it going to be like? And I remember on opening night, the show almost sold out. And I could overhear these two like older women talking to each other as they checked in, and they said, "Oh, mistranslations, that's a thing that we can all relate to." And I thought, wow, how cool is it to be able to write a show that helps you to connect with people in a country like Estonia, to be able to go all the way around the world and then have something that people say, that's relatable.
Hello and welcome to Tickets Still Available. In this episode, I talk to Erica Jean. She is a polyglottal, so she is able to learn languages very easily, or she works hard and understands them. And she has been around the world. She's originally from America, and she has a show in Edinburgh called Mistranslated, and that is available to be seen at the Just Up the Stairs and Just the Tonic at Just the Caves. Rolls off the tongue. There was a lot of technical issues this episode, and there's a bit where I say, you have Wi-Fi, everything should be fine. I jinxed the episode, but I managed to salvage some of it, so hopefully you shall enjoy the show. Ciao, ciao, and continue the show. Oh no, I've ruined it already. Okie dokie. Do you have any wee earbuds in or anything?
Yeah.
Oh, you do. Perfect. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if anything goes wrong, just stay there and hopefully it'll get sorted. But you have Wi-Fi in hotels, so all should be good. So let me see. Hello and welcome to Tickets Still Available. I really do my best to help comedians that have gigs where tickets are still available. Today I am joined by Erica Jean. Erica, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So what was your upbringing like? Was it a very multilingual upbringing?
You know, this is actually the ironic thing, because I grew up in the United States in Chicago, and all of my ancestors are Polish, some Scottish also, some Irish.
Yeah.
But I grew up without any sort of language exposure. And in the US, languages are optional to study in school. So
Okay.
the first opportunity I had to study language was in Spanish when I was 16 years old. And that was, public school education. Not the best.
So you have a stand-up show in Edinburgh where you will be talking about how you know so many languages from around the world and trying to explain that to an English-speaking audience.
Indeed. Some people told me that it was a bit, maybe not the best idea to bring a show about languages to a monolingual place like the UK. But what I believe is that people are full of surprises. And that's really the fun of the show for me, is you've got this audience in front of you and you don't know what languages they have secretly living on in their heads. Because we have this idea that the UK is an English-speaking place, but people will have maybe done a work assignment in Vietnam. They'll have studied abroad in Portugal. They'll have a secret passion for Japanese, and it's just secretly in their heads. And the show brings it out. And that's really what the fun of it is looking at your neighbor and going, I've done shows where people go with friends and they discover new things about their friends they never knew. Also, family members who didn't know that like their grandparents spoke a certain language or had an exposure, and that's the fun of it.
Okay, because the other thing would be like Britain would have had its indigenous languages that have mostly been eroded at this point. You said you were speaking a little bit of Welsh. How did that go?
It was really funny last night because I always ask people what languages they're learning, and there was a German woman who was learning Welsh because she lives here. And almost everybody from Manchester in the room kind of looked at her sideways like, why? And then everybody started sharing phrases in Welsh. It turns out almost everybody in the room knew some form of Welsh, no matter what country they were from.
Okay, interesting. Because I heard the English language has very little Welsh in it when you think it might actually have quite a lot. Was that your first Celtic language you'd given a go?
I mean, if you say give a go, you mean say a single phrase in, then yes. But I mean, I think that they have beautiful sounds. And from what I learned about Welsh, it does sound very poetic if you were to transcribe what it's actually saying back into English.
What's made you decide to give the Edinburgh Fringe a go?
Well, that's a good question because I've been doing comedy for almost a decade, and over the years I've told myself that maybe I would never do the Edinburgh Fringe because it seems oversaturated. as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of shows, very expensive, and there's plenty of opportunities to take a show around the
Yes.
world. But honestly, every year my social media feed just crowds up with friends who have gone to Edinburgh, and the FOMO has just gotten too great to withstand. Just the fear of missing out. I cannot take it anymore. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring. But also, I wanted to do it because the topic of my show is something that I don't think comes out a lot in the world of stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that interesting because comedians tend to gravitate towards certain topics, relationships, edgy, controversial things. And after a while, honestly, it gets a bit dull for me because I listen to
Yeah.
comedians all the time and it's the same subjects, like rinse, recycle, repeat. Languages actually are something that we mostly do have in common, but don't talk about. Because even if you're from a country like the UK, you might have studied French in school or another
Mm-hmm.
language in school. You've gone on holiday in Spain and had to try to figure out how to order a beer. It's a common experience that we all have, but it's not the subject of a show. And now it is.
So you say that you first got into stand up because of a Tinder date in Bangkok. How did that Tinder date go?
Oh my gosh. It's true. My first ever Tinder date and my first ever comedy show happened on the same night.
Busy
And
day.
it was a very eventful day. I had a friend who was doing a comedy show, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
what opened the door for me because I grew up thinking that all comedians were immortal gods, born with a
Okay.
funny bone and a
Wow.
given talent. And it never occurred to me that a regular person could be a comedian, let alone someone I knew. So I went
Mm-hmm.
to see my friend at a comedy show, and it had a theme, Tinder. So I thought, wouldn't
Okay.
it be funny if I took a Tinder date to this Tinder comedy show? So I went on Tinder, and the first person I matched with was a Russian guy whose profile only said from Siberia.
Okay.
And I thought, that's all I need to know. So I messaged him and I invited him to the comedy show, and he said yes. And we discovered during the date that he didn't really understand English very well.
Were you forced then to learn Russian to converse with him?
I mean, I wish that I could learn Russian in just a few short
Yes.
hours, but it was mostly awkward of just finding places and things that he could talk about. But you know how on comedy shows they always tell you the show starts at 8 p.m. and then it actually starts at 8:30 p.m. and the
Yeah.
audience that arrives on time is just sitting there awkwardly for 30 minutes. That was
Mm-hmm.
me with this Russian guy, like not able to talk to each other at all,
Well,
waiting
because
for
you're
a
not
show to
facing
start.
each other. You're kind of, it's almost like going to the cinema. You're facing away.
Yeah, you're facing away watching something that isn't happening yet.
Like, I feel like stand up or the
Mhm,
cinema is good if it's
mhm,
part of, it's like a two
mhm.
part of a date. It's like if you do a shared experience at the start and then you have dinner afterwards, you have something to talk about. So I take it you didn't marry this Russian?
No, I did not. I did not. At the end of the night, we shook hands and said thank you and never spoke to each other ever again. But the comedy show was amazing. It really sold me.
Had you, so you hadn't spoken much languages when you lived in America. It was only when you moved to
No,
Thailand. Is that when you picked them up?
that's really when it started. Guys, I studied Spanish in high school, Japanese in university, but this is just
Mm-hmm.
passive classroom-based stuff. It wasn't until
Yeah.
I moved to Thailand that you're really in the thick of it, interacting with taxi drivers and trying to bargain for things.
Hmm.
But what drove me, honestly, was spite, because I
Okay.
looked around at all of the people who live in Bangkok, all of the foreigners, and a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
have lived there for decades. They've got families and Thai wives, and they don't speak a lick of Thai. And
Oh
I thought,
wow.
I don't want to be like that.
What are the main ethnic groups that moved to Thailand?
Well, if you're talking about Western expats, there is a lot from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
My first
Are they
ever,
mostly male?
yes, they're all mostly
They should be
male over a
banned. Send
certain
them,
demographic.
yes, send them straight to jail. There's something a bit weird about that whole thing.
I know. And unfortunately, well, fortunately, unfortunately, it is what it is. A lot of them are the comedy audiences in Bangkok.
So you're, wh- what is the language of Bangkok? Because every country doesn't just have its country name and then ish
Mhm.
Bangkokese. I can only apologize. I was just a bit stressed and got a little bit Mickey mood. So, yes, I know it's Thailand. I'm sorry.
Well, Thai is the main language, but
Hmm.
Thailand, like the UK or any other place, has dialects. But
Yeah.
ironically, Central Thai, the Thai that's spoken in Bangkok, is the standard version. It's not like a cool, edgy version. If you want the
Hmm.
cool, edgy versions, you can go to the Northeast, where everybody speaks Isan, which is basically the same as Lao. And if you
Okay.
really want to make friends with a Thai person, almost all the street vendors in Bangkok and the taxi drivers are from Isan. So if you talk to them in Isan, they will go nuts. They'll get on the phone and call their family and like make you talk to them just because they can't believe a foreigner can speak Isan.
How did you find being an American in that part of the world? Because it hasn't been the friendliest, let's say, historically.
Well, the nice part about Southeast Asia is not a lot of Americans make it out there. It's
Hmm.
far. It's not really on the American tourist map. So you can be a
Okay.
bit unique there. At the moment, I'm living in Rome, in Italy. It is
Wow.
flooded with Americans because we as a people have no imagination when it comes to planning our holidays. We go to the one of the four countries we've heard of, and of course one of them is Italy.
What country would you prefer Americans to go to and see?
I would like them to go everywhere,
Hmm.
basically, because
I always
it's
personally think there's two types of Americans. There's ones with passports and ones without passports because it feels like their minds seem to be very different and a lot more open if they even have the concept of owning a passport, if that makes sense.
that does make sense. That's actually a really useful dichotomy of just breaking up the country like that because
Hmm.
for some people it's a badge of honor to not have a passport and
Hmm.
to think that you would never leave not the great country of the United States.
Yeah.
But someone made a point to me the other night just about internationalism in the US because here in the UK, English is the main language, but it's really easy for you to just hop on the train, go to mainland Europe, hop on a Ryanair flight, go anywhere.
Yeah.
In the US, if we want to go to another country that speaks another language, we have to cross an ocean or take a 5 hour flight to go to Mexico.
Hmm.
And then most of the people who do that just go to the places that are already a Disneyland-ified version of the United States.
What did you find the most eye-opening about moving out of America? Like, was there any preconceptions you thought, oh, only Americans have this, and you're like, oh, it turns out a lot of the world has this.
It's true. You realize how much things can actually be better in other countries.
Hmm.
The most concrete example in Thailand is the healthcare system. America is famous for having overbloated
Hmm.
healthcare costs, insurance that just denies all of your claims. And then you go to Thailand and you can just pay to see the specialist you need in a hospital
Hmm.
that has a sushi restaurant attached to it and valet parking and chandeliers in the bathrooms. And you think, what were we putting up with back home?
Because it is very sad. I almost see America like you'd see like a developing nation. It has this, like I remember seeing English doctors. They would do a thing in like a parking lot in America where they were like, "We'll just treat anybody," and it reminded me of like English doctors going to like post once the Iron Curtain fell in Ukraine. I'm like, this is so strange for such a wealthy country.
Yeah. And it's completely normalized. Because again, if people don't travel, then they don't see what it's like in other places.
Hmm.
And it becomes normal. Whenever you get sick, you go to urgent care where there are basically no doctors and you wait for 4 hours to be triaged.
This is where we have our first technical issue, but thankfully we get the show back on the road not too long after. That's what I get for criticizing America. If every American could wake up tomorrow with an extra language learnt, what would you like that language to be?
Uh, the I would probably pick Spanish just because it's so important to the country right now given I mean, this is actually getting, I feel like this
Hmm.
is might getting a little bit too political, but basically there's a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment in the US. And I feel like if everybody spoke Spanish, then they would at least have a chance to be able to connect with people and rethink their position from a more informed standpoint.
Have you been to any other festivals, or will Edinburgh be the first one you're performing at?
I performed at the Tallinn Fringe last year in Estonia. And that was a very interesting experience because it was my first fringe. And you're taking a show to a country like Estonia, which is like a black box. What's it going to be like? And I remember on opening night, the show almost sold out. And I could overhear these two like older women talking to each other as they checked in, and they said, "Oh, mistranslations. That's a thing that we can all relate to." And I thought, wow, how cool is it to be able to write a show that helps you to connect with people in a country like Estonia, to be able to go all the way around the world and then
Hmm.
have something that people say that's relatable.
Do you find the Korean language is it's like at both ends of the spectrum because apparently it's the easiest language to read, but for an English speaker, it's one of the most complicated and difficult to learn. Do you find it a horrible like? Oh, come to our language. It's so easy to read. And then it's like, oh no, I need a master's degree just to order a taxi.
I mean, it is true that, I mean, Korean is one of the languages that's classified as the most difficult to learn if you're approaching it from a native English speaking standpoint. I did teach myself how to learn
Hmm.
to read Korean before I traveled to Korea for the first time. And it is true, you can learn how to read it in a few hours. I taught myself how to read it while I was on a
Okay.
night boat in Indonesia, like from midnight until 6 in the morning. I learned how to read Korean. And then I showed up. I didn't use it except for reading the subway stop signs and finding out where the buses were going. And honestly, when you're traveling, sometimes that's as good as you want it to get.
I think your show should be popular because the Edinburgh Fringe is such an international event. I could see a lot of people from, all around the world wanting to see your show.
I hope that's the case. I mean, and in Edinburgh, the challenge is really standing out. I think it's a unique concept. And I think that, and I
Oh,
don't think that there are
definitely.
that many like hyper polyglot comedians in the world, let alone at Edinburgh. But it still has difficulty to stand out because you're up against famous people. You're up against like incredibly world talented acrobats and people and street performers and everything you could ever imagine or think of. And so I do hope that being able to talk to you today and, getting more about the show out there can help to raise awareness that it's there because it's an interactive show. So if anybody has a great language mistake story, which I know they do, there's a chance to come onto the show and to tell it to the audience to see if you can beat the worst stories that I have to share.
Are you finding because I've to get comedians for this podcast, I often go to the
Yeah.
Edinburgh Fringe subreddit. Are you finding it a bit stressful reading about other people putting on their shows?
What I find stressful about the Edinburgh Fringe subreddit is I feel like almost every post on that thread is an audience member saying, "All right, I'm going to Edinburgh Fringe for 3 days. Tell me if I'm crazy. Here's my schedule." And they list their schedule, and it's like famous person, famous person, famous person, famous person. And I and probably other artist who's putting on a show are just sitting there going, "Oh, please leave space to discover new things. Please don't spend all of your money on these Taskmaster people. Just come to all of these unknown shows." It's I don't know if you've noticed the same thing on that subreddit, but it's I look at it every day and it drives me crazy.
It is interesting to see what people are getting up to and the sort of stress of people. When did you discover you had this like knack for learning languages? Because I'm abysmal at it,
You
I'm
say you're
afraid.
abysmal at it, but can you tell me what languages have you tried to study or been forced to study in your life? I'm curious.
A bit
Okay.
of French at school, and that was about it, and maybe a tiny bit of
Hmm.
Spanish when I went there.
Okay, and so it's all there, dormant in your brain, perhaps, if the need calls for it,
Perhaps.
perhaps. I wouldn't. There are people who have a knack for languages. That's clear. But honestly, it's hard work. Even the easiest languages in the world are hard work. And the way I describe it is
Hmm.
in order to get to the point where you can start learning many languages, you have to learn one first to a very good level because that rewires your entire brain
Okay.
to be able to have a lived experience and talk about any subject and any emotion in another language.
Hmm.
It's like laying down railroad tracks. So the process of, digging, like blasting a tunnel through rock to put a train through, that's a lot of work. But once you do it, your neural pathways are there. They're rewired, and you can start running other language trains through
Hmm.
once you've done that first initial work of one language. So for me, that language was actually Indonesian. because I learned Spanish and Thai
Okay.
and Japanese, but then I moved to Indonesia and I got a job as a manager in NGO in rural Borneo. And so I had to live my entire life in Indonesian. I had to supervise people in Indonesian. And when you have people who are depending on you to be able to keep their jobs, to fight for their rights, to help give them guidance on how to do their jobs, that's really when it clicked for me because I
Hmm.
realized that if I messed up, then things could happen. Because like I had one colleague one day, he asked me, Erica, can I take my wife to the medical clinic in the afternoon? I think she's having a miscarriage. And I didn't really understand the word miscarriage. So I was like, yeah, yeah, sure, just go in the afternoon. And then he came back an hour later and said, actually, she has to go now. And I said, okay, go. And I think if I had known the word miscarriage, I would have said, oh, just go now. Because it turned out she was having an ectopic
Oh,
pregnancy.
wow.
And if she had waited till the afternoon, she would have died.
Oh, God. That's horrific.
It's
Well, it's glad it worked out well.
But I mean, all of that is just to drive home the point that when you've got high stakes, that can actually push you quite a lot to learn a language and to lay those tracks down. And then after that, it can become a lot more simple. Because after Indonesian, I learned French during the pandemic. And I found that to be a lot simpler than anybody who's ever learned French told me that it would be. Because I think universally, French is one of the most widely studied language for people studying in schools, and then it becomes a common pain point that many of us have.
Have you found yourself you've started to think in other languages for certain topics?
Sometimes I dream in other languages, which is always quite fun, because you know how when the common trope is that
Hmm.
when you drink, you get better at languages. When you dream, you get even better. You can be speaking at a fluency that you can't in regular life. And I think that actually just goes to
Okay.
show that a lot of it is just gaming your subconscious. Because, for example, you studied French and it's there in your brain in a place where, like, it's not
Hmm.
accessible immediately, but once you remove all the inhibitors, then voila, there it is.
You're currently in Italy. What made you choose that?
I came here for work, but honestly, I really wanted to add Italian as a language, and I wanted to try doing stand up comedy in Italian also. And I am proud to say that I did stand up comedy in Italian just 2 weeks after moving to the country. But part of that
Hmm.
was desperation because, unfortunately, Rome, Italy, it's an amazing city, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Everybody should visit it. It's a terrible place for English
Hmm.
language comedy. The audiences are all tourists. The venues aren't set up for comedy. It's just not a good situation. But Italian language comedy is booming. There are open mics in Rome every single night of the week in Italian, and they have audiences. And the shows are very well run, very well attended. And it's, for me, as a new person in a country, it's an amazing way to get to understand the culture better and to meet people, to hear the types of things that they talk about. So if you
Hmm.
want to know what Italians talk about when they do comedy, it's mostly their family and the trauma that has been inflicted on them by being a little bit too close to their family their whole lives.
Isn't it more normal for children to live with their parents in Italy to say 40 or
Yes,
so?
and that's partially, it's cultural, but it's also the economic situation of not being able to have a job and then
Mm.
become independent enough to live elsewhere. But it's also common that even if you do have money, you'll buy a house next to your parents. I rent an apartment in Rome from a guy, and his parents live in the same building.
Okay. You talked about how people tend to think you're CIA. Have you ever had run ins or been approached to sort of work for security forces from around the world?
Well, if of course if that had happened, I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you that
True.
in truth, it has never happened, and I'm kind of mad about it. But I will say that when I first went to Indonesia, I talk about this in my show, but I was sent to Indonesia to learn Indonesian because I got a scholarship from the US government to learn a language that was critical to US national security, and Indonesian is one of them. And I was supposed to work for the US government after that scholarship. It didn't happen for a variety of reasons. But the funny part is that almost all of the other Americans that came to Indonesia on that same scholarship, they all definitely worked for the CIA. And I would try to hang out with them, and they were always the
Hmm.
most cagey people. They would never give out their email or their phone number. If you wanted to make plans with them, you would hang out with them and you
Hmm.
would verbally make plans for the next time to meet, where and when, and there would be no communication in between. And I always felt it was excessive because it's like, look, we're just basically students right now. Do you have, and you're on a scholarship. You can do
Yeah.
your CIA stuff later when you're done. Can you be a normal person now? And they just couldn't do it. This is very annoying. Anyways, that's my rant. Uh,
No, that's okay. You can rant away.
but my but
Did
my
you?
parents always tell people I work for the CIA. And my own boyfriend, we've been together for 4.5 years, and he still is not convinced I don't work for the CIA. He just thinks that I'm very good at hiding it.
Well, you couldn't tell him either.
No. And it's always convenient to have a comedy is almost like an alibi, right? Because you're like, oh, I have a show tonight. I have to go to a fringe in Manchester this weekend. I'll be busy for five
Hmm.
days. Oh, you would never know.
What is your sort of procedure for learning a language? Like, do you just try to immerse yourself and kind of vibe it nearly, or do you just sort of pick like Duolingo and kind of just go at it very hard, or what way do you go
This
about
is,
it?
I mean, this is, I could talk about this question forever, but basically, I experiment with with new methods every single time I take a new language. And it's also different
Okay.
depending on the language because with Italian, there's an infinite number of free resources. But when I was learning Mongolian, there's nothing online. But usually the main foundational bit is getting a tutor because like many people who do comedy and learn languages, I have ADHD. I can't learn a language or pay attention unless I'm with a tutor one on one who is forcing me to pay attention and
Hmm.
talk. And I find actually, I learned Thai with a tutor, and all it took was 2 sessions a week, 1.5 hours per session. So it's like 3 hours a week with a tutor. All you need is just that one on one blasting of concentration, and then you can get the foundation you need to start picking up things organically elsewhere. But that being said, I do use Duolingo every single day. I have a lot of
Okay.
opinions about Duolingo, but generally it's both harmful and helpful.
Okay.
It's harmful because it's still oriented towards translating things back into your native language. If you really want to get into a language
Yes.
fast,
Immerse
yeah, you want
yourself.
to immerse yourself and you just want to start thinking about it and never don't waste your time thinking about, oh, this means this in English. No, just cut that out. And Duolingo doesn't cut that out.
Hmm.
It keeps you stuck in translation mode. So that's why it's harmful, but it's helpful also because it helps you build a habit and it helps you do the most important thing, which is to gaslight yourself into thinking you're amazing.
True. I guess it wants you to keep coming back by saying you're so wonderful when in reality
Yeah.
you maybe
You
aren't.
know, but half the battle of learning a language is mastering your own psychology, and we tend to think, "Oh, I'm not good. I'm making a lot of mistakes. This is so hard. I'll never do it." You have to reverse it. You have to be almost like a sociopathic narcissist about it, just for the sake of the language. And you think, "I'm amazing. I'm definitely going to talk to that person. They're going to be delighted to talk to me." And if you have that mindset, then you're jumping over the barriers that would hold you back otherwise. And Duolingo is excellent for making you feel that way. And that can create the confidence you need to actually do the work, to learn the grammar, do all the conjugations, and learn the vocabulary, and then actually be able to have a good conversation with people in the end.
Technical issues have struck for a third time. I was basic, some of this has been lost. I'm basically saying that I've never been to the Edinburgh Fringe before, but it means a lot to me watching comedy from a young age. But that I might go and stay with my relatives that live in Paisley. So that's just where we step off at here. Or in Paisley, so that's about an hour and a half drive. So I'll maybe train it. Who knows what will happen? And it's probably going to be an incredibly warm summer. So all your time closer to the equator will have paid off.
It's already paying off in Italy. It's quite
True.
hot there, and just this weekend in Manchester is a breath of fresh air.
Hmm. And everyone is slowly investing in air conditioners in Europe. Seems to be the meme.
Yes, yes.
Look what came for me today. Rory has left his chair. Erica looks puzzled and concerned. Rory returns several seconds later with a large box and a smile on his face. It's a big fan. I ordered it a month ago and it's only come now.
Okay, well, better late than never, just in time for the August
Yes, I also
heat.
ordered another one off Amazon and it's not going to come to the end of August. So I'll have
Mhm.
two fans and one probably I won't need for another year. Rory has set the large box on the ground.
Well, if you go to Edinburgh, see if you can bring that with you and plug it in next to your
Well,
seat
I could
wherever you're
rent it
sitting.
out.
Actually, you would probably make a lot of money if you rented out a fan.
Yeah, luckily, Scotland and most of Ireland have been not too bad so far, but they do
Mhm.
say is that Edinburgh will have the same climate as Madrid at some point. So that's a bit terrifying
Wow.
because what will Madrid be like?
I worry for that. I also worry for Italy in general because there are a lot of Italians that still refuse to buy air conditioning and
Hmm.
they're suffering. In Thailand, it's hot like that all the time, but everybody uses air conditioning. It's not even a question.
Because I know they've added
Mm.
you can have now air to air heat pumps, which are essentially just air conditioners. But you sit if you put it in one direction, it gives you hot air, and if you put it in the other direction, it gives you cold air. So I think they're going to be becoming more common in this part of the world.
Yep. I have some of those in my apartment in Rome. It's nice during the, the 1 month of the year when it's actually cold in Rome.
Hmm.
I don't think you would find it cold
Okay.
there.
Have you learned
Okay.
any African languages? Because I look at your repertoire and I feel like Africa's been left out.
I think about that because I would like to be more globally representative. I would like my next
Hmm.
language to be a Slavic language, actually, because Slavic is still like very different from English. But
Mm.
for Africa, it depends on if I have to focus on it a lot for work. Because for my day job, I've learned Mongolian. I've also learned Burmese, not to
Yeah.
advanced level, but to conversational levels. And so, who knows, if I have an assignment that requires a lot of work in Eastern Africa, I'd learn Swahili. But for now, I'll settle for
Hmm.
learning for words here and there because I did a show in Vienna about a month ago, and there was a woman in the audience from Nigeria, and she taught the whole audience how to say, I will slap you in Igbo, which
Does
is now the only thing I know about that language. Because people are threatening each other with violence. I don't know.
with your job, are they just a bit like, right, you're learning this now and you're a bit like, okay.
No, it's more like if I have a project in a place and if they send me to go check on our projects there, then I
Hmm.
would like to be able to do a good job and not depend on my local colleagues to call taxis or order
Yeah.
food for me and just to be able to do something on myself. And that's really when I find that if you're trying and you make a mistake, it'll make them so happy because one, you tried, and two, you made them laugh. And what better way to create a bond with someone? I remember when I was in Myanmar once, I was trying to take a bus from Mandalay to Naypyidaw, and I got on the right bus, but I didn't get on the express bus. So the bus
Hmm.
took like 9 hours instead of 4 hours. And when I
Oh
called my
God.
colleagues to say that I was going to miss all of our meetings because I was going to be 5 hours late, the sound of their laughter just kept me warm for that extra 5 hours. As they were like, who is this idiot? Took the slow bus.
Well, what is your job?
I would prefer not to talk about it directly, but I
Okay.
work on the
It's
topic
not
of
the CIA.
international.
We've been
It's
through that.
yes, it's not the CIA, but it is a very international job that requires traveling around to
Hmm.
countries quite a bit, and it's focused on the environment.
Okay. It sounds very good. Speaking of international jobs around the environment, similar to the America question, if there was a language that everyone learnt as a lingua franca, what would you like it to be? What do you think maybe is the most romantic or exciting that if everyone knew it, it would sort of make the world a better place?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that what you want is something that's also accessible to people. And I think Indonesian is a very good example because
Okay.
it's designed to be accessible to people. And also it's a very good language for making jokes and pranking people and being silly.
Hmm.
So if you wanted to have a language that's already well designed to connect people from different
Yeah.
cultures and places, and that's easy to learn, it's a good option. I feel like since I'm in Europe, I should be saying Esperanto, but I'm not part of the
Yeah.
Esperanto cult yet.
So, would you like to give one wee last plug before you go?
Absolutely. So, if you're still looking for something to do at the Edinburgh Fringe and you want to, take a gamble on an unknown show from an unknown artist, you can come see Mistranslated. It is a whirlwind tour into the world of language mistakes. I will share my worst. Have you the chance to share your own? And no matter what happens, you're going to walk away learning a few new random words from languages that you've never spoken before. It'll be a unique experience, and I really hope that if you do have the chance, come out.
I would say if you're visiting Edinburgh the Fringe with people that's English maybe isn't their English isn't great, I would recommend them to go because you may pick them out and maybe do your best to learn their language if you don't already know it.
Good recommendation. Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Erica, and I wish you all the very best in Edinburgh.
All right.
Thank you very much for listening to Tickets Still Available. Thank you very much to Erica Jean for putting up with me and all of those annoying technical issues, but we got through it. Most of the audio was saved, so that's wonderful. Erica's show is called Mistranslated. It is from the 20th to the 30th of August just at the Tonic at the Caves, just up the stairs in Edinburgh. It's about an hour long, and tickets are between £6 and £8. So I would love you to go to that. And also, I've got all my socials. Tickets still available. Or tickets still will be the name. And I also set up a buy me a coffee. So if you'd like to support the show, please. But also, if you don't have any money, and if you do, please like, subscribe, comment, 5 stars. All the other stars don't work. It's sad. But that's the like of it. I'm a very new podcast, so anything is a lot. So thank you very much. I will catch you all later. Ciao, ciao.